Right. Now let's take a look about what is at stake in New Hampshire. Very, very different state than this one in where I sit. Former Governor Jon Huntsman, the Republican state of Utah presidential candidate in 2012. Now, I remember, Governor, in your case, you put a great deal of emphasis on, on New Hampshire. You fared well, but not well enough. And pretty soon it was time to pack things up. I mean, is it that big a yes or no type of state for candidates? Who is in that position of having to do well or get out?
Well, thank you, Neil, and it's a pleasure to be with you. And thanks for the reminder that we didn't do quite good enough. You're absolutely right. We took third.
You did fine. You did fine, but you know what that was, right?
But it was a lot of fun, and our family loved it. The expectation game is, I think, going to be like this. One of the governors, and what amazes me, Neil, from the very beginning of this election cycle is how many all-star governors entered the fray. I mean, you had Rick Perry, Bobby Jindal, Scott Walker, Jeb Bush, who was the most conservative and highly thought of governor when I was elected governor back in 2004, Christy Kasich Huckabee, who used to run the whole Governors Association. And Bush last night got 2% of the vote, and he was the highest performing governor of the whole bunch. It's absolutely incredible. Christy Kasich and Huckabee fell behind him. So I think the expectations game are probably as follows, Neil. Trump's going to have to come up with a big win in New Hampshire to get the mojo back, or things begin to slide south for him. And I think one of the governors, Bush, Christy Kasich, will have to pull off a second. I'm not sure there's a number 3 ticket out of New Hampshire, because these primaries are all front-loaded in today's world with instantaneous communication and heightened expectations. It's not like the old days where you could let it play out for a period of time. I think the expectations are set, and number 2 gives you the buzz going into South Carolina. If you don't get a number 2, particularly if you underperformed, as they all did in Iowa, I think it becomes pretty tough to pick up the pace.
Now, can Ted Cruz afford to do, mediocre then? Does he get a pass in New Hampshire because he wasn't expected to do all that great because of his Iowa?
Given the blowout, Neil, in Iowa and the turnout, the record turnout there, and the expectation game in New Hampshire, which isn't great for him, and what lies ahead in the South, which should be pretty strong for Ted Cruz, I'm not sure that that he's got high expectations running against him in New Hampshire. I think for the others, it's absolutely critical.
Real quick take on Marco Rubio. A lot of moderates are sort of clasping to him as a party savior. What do you think?
We'll see. So much of this has to do with, not only what the coalescing theme for the party will be, but who's the transcendent figure who can do what Ronald Reagan did, and that is to bring the factions together. It's becoming increasingly difficult within the Republican tent because of the irreconcilable differences. We'll see. He's been in the Senate a short period of time. He seems to be a very, very gifted politician. And if he gets a second in New Hampshire, I think he'll be in a great position.
All right, Governor Huntsman, I meant no slight with my comment on your performance. And
I always like to go back and forth with you. Come on, you got to get the market up at least this afternoon, Neil. Come on, do something productive.
I wish. Well, I'm in Iowa. I'm still stuck in Iowa. All right, thank you very, very much, Governor Jon Huntsman. A lot more on what is